meeting of the Bridgewater Finance Committee is now recording.
Okay, I'm going to open the Bridgewater Finance Committee at 6:44 p.m. On May 3rd, 2021. The first order of business is public comments. Do we have any public comments? If we do, I'd ask you to state your name and your address, please. Okay, I don't. One more time, public comment? No? All right, I see approval of the meeting minutes. I didn't receive any meeting minutes, so I assume nobody else did. So we will skip on to the new business, which is we have the budget items. Now, this is the first time that we have discussed the budget items. We had a meeting with Tony on 04/12, quite an extensive meeting with him, actually, with a lot of questions and answers. And then we had a town council budget subcommittee and the finance committee subcommittee meeting on 04/22. And again, it was a good discussion. It was pretty extensive. We had all 4 members of our subcom there. And really the town council budget subcommittee kind of really asked a lot of the same questions we had asked at our 04/12 meeting. I guess the one question I would have is I know that the town council budget subcommittee did vote the orders at the 04, what was that? 27 meeting. Were there any changes to anything? Do we know?
There were no changes.
No changes at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So we have had quite a bit of discussion, obviously, on the fiscal year 22 budget. One thing that's different for the full committee is that Mr. Dutton is on the call with us this time. He was with us on the budget subcommittee, FinCom subcommittee meeting earlier on the 22nd. So right now, let's just do it. What do you think? Do you want to do these one at a time? And we'll see if there's any questions as we go through them. That sound good to the committee? Okay, so the first one, obviously, let me switch over here. These are the new ones. Is FY 22-001, the annual town budget. Does anybody have any further questions, indoor questions right now on this? We do have Mr. Dutton here with a shark, so.
Oh, yeah. And Tony apologizes he couldn't be here tonight. Something had come up. So for better or worse, you get me. So I'll probably contradict everything Tony's ever said to you, but that's the way we do it.
Do you have any quick notes that you want to make on this?
I don't think anything other than what I've already talked about a little bit. The budget really doesn't reflect a whole lot of very dramatic changes in the way we do things right now. Partly with a couple of caveats, which I'll get to, but we have very purposely tried not to stray too far from what we're currently doing, especially because you know, of the questions and the you know, sort of the lack of clarity in the future just due to COVID. You know, there's so much going on a federal level in terms of funding, even on the state level, but certainly COVID and the COVID aftermath is something that we've never been through before, so we don't really know how that's going to affect our budgets. So we tried to be conservative as we often are, excuse me, but we also you know, tried not to stray too far from the way we're doing things right now. I can tell you there are a couple caveats. Most notably, in this budget, we budgeted for the partial implementation of a DPW, true DPW. So that's a little bit of a change. That's something that we've been working towards, quite frankly, for the last 7 or 8 years. So we're finally at a stage where we can do that. So other than that, really there aren't a whole lot of items. I'll only, you know, just sort of point out it's not really an expense budget item, but we did scale back some of the money that we are pulling or transferring as part of the budget process out of ambulance receipts. And originally we had been a little over $2 million. We dropped that down just because ambulance revenues for fiscal 21 are substantially down. So we've got a little picking up to do. We think that our projections show, and in fact, that even now they're coming, sort of coming to back a little bit more back to normal, but our conservative projections show that we'll be back to normal within 3 to 5 years on revenue. So, so that shouldn't be an issue, but I did want to sort of highlight that because we are attentive to the what was some declining revenues in the ambulance receipts. So let's see, other than that, really not too many items in general fund budget. Obviously the schools take up a substantial chunk of that. I think we had a really pretty good budget process this year with the district. We have a fairly sizable jump in debt exclusion for the schools, understandable because we're beginning to pay for a elementary school, the Mitchell School, begin to pay for that. We also have some increases in Bristol Plymouth, which is based solely on student population. Really no huge surprise there. And then I'd only highlight Norfolk Aggie. We budgeted right now for 0. We don't anticipate any students from the BR, well, from the Bridgewater side of the BR district going to Norfolk Aggie. But if somebody does, then we'll address that at the time. They'll do an official population count or official sort of roll on October 1st, and that sort of sets a lot of the finances for the following year once that's done. Really nothing dramatically different in state and county tax assessments. Snow and ice deficit, we've got about a $390,000 deficit, which is right about sort of standard for us. And so that is built in. But other than those items, really nothing, no major dramatic changes to the general fund budget. But I'm certainly happy to answer questions.
Not a question, Mike, but did you, well, I can form it in the phrase of a question. At the subcommittee meeting that we had with the joint town council, you said that, I believe you said something to the effect of that the town council, the budget and the school committee budget really went smooth this year, and that there weren't as many back and forths and cuts and stuff like that publicly. Is that because of Zoom or because, why? I mean, it went smoother this year when I wasn't budget chair, so I just want to know what the secret was.
Well, see, I gave Mike Dolan a lot of credit last time I talked about this, so maybe I'll shoot some blame to Julie. No,
thank you. Yeah, that's good. I'll take it.
No, I think honestly there are a number of reasons for this. I think I think we worked a lot closer together throughout the year just on trying to fund a lot of the expenses that the schools had due to COVID. So we had a lot more conversation. Was probably a good thing, even though it was separate conversation from the budget per se, but a lot more interaction there. And I think, honestly, we were very, very conservative in our revenue estimates for this year. Our revenues have not been as dramatically impacted as we had thought. So we were in a little bit, Bridgewater certainly was in a little bit better position, going into FY22. And then I think there, it remains to be seen. This is one of the areas where there seems to be, I won't say confusion. Well, it's not confusion. There just aren't clear, there's not clear guidance in how anybody, but certainly the regional district and the town for that matter, or states can use the new recovery money. But there is, a lot of clarity on how we can use the CARES funding. So we've used that CARES funding quite judiciously. And so, to the extent that that's eased some of the budget burden for both, Rainham, Bridgewater, and as well as this district. I think that's sort of been helpful. That's not the purpose of the CARES money, but that's, sort of the ancillary impact is it's sort of lightened a little bit of that burden. So I think, Julie, to answer your question, I think there are a lot of factors. It's hard to pin down one, but.
Well, I mean, a certain candidate for school committee was advocating for, going to save the day, but there really wasn't much to save this year. Thank God. So I'm happy that it went smoothly. We also discussed that there may be further discussions on how to pay for some items that are really the town's responsibility for the schools, the non-high school buildings. Are those discussions still going to take place as far as the town being responsible for the, K through 8 buildings and how to bill for those
Right.
things?
No, that in terms of, I think you're probably talking about sort of more operating expenses, not capital expenses. And yes, those conversations continue. We plan, we have, and we continue to have conversations with the district in Rainham. We'll do it, we'll want to make sure that Rainham and Bridgewater are, whatever we do, we're consistent right across those two towns.
Yeah, I know at one time there was like a $10,000, if it's 10,000 or less, that maybe the school district would pay for it. But the truth is, if it's 999, how many 999s can the school district be responsible for when really the town owns the building? So.
Yeah. No, that's in terms of operation or in terms of certainly in terms of capital, I think we've had some conversations on how that could work better.
Okay.
And as I say, we want to be consistent. And I think, the district is fine. We've talked with Kathy, last week, touched on this a little bit, but, as long as there's consistency, that's everybody, thrives in municipal finance, when there's consistency. Well, for the most part.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. That, I guess, yes, to answer your question.
I'm good.
All right, does anybody else have a question for Michael on 001 here?
Yeah, just real quick, because Michael, you touched on the ambulance receipts, and we've always been pretty conservative with that line anyway. What's driving the shortage? Just out of curiosity.
Honestly, during the shutdown, the COVID shutdown, nobody,
Yep.
Your instinct is everybody's, going to be using that ambulance because everybody's going to get COVID, go to the hospital. Well, the hospital is the last place anybody wanted to go. For a number of, and people weren't out driving, people weren't, tripping on the sidewalk and hurting themselves. So,
Yep.
all of those things kind of played into a drop in use. It didn't shrivel up to nothing, but certainly, we could see the decreases in usage.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, just real quick, we talked about the highway department. I just scribbled a note here. I saw that it was a 6.75% increase. Is that correct?
That is very possible. And that
Tony might have given me that number.
So, yeah, I don't have the percentages in front of me, but so we added, I know we added money to tree care. Well, in terms of expenses, we've added money to tree care. We've added money to accommodate, like storm drain cleanouts and so forth. We also added a piece of the DPW director, and I believe we were adding facilities in there as well. So you had some increases. It's not a 6.5% increase in salary by any means.
Yeah.
In fact, there's no increase in salary built into that.
Okay, thank you. And just to recap real quick, the police department, we're looking at one new officer and one new cadet. And then in the fire department, they're restructuring, losing one fireman, but they're creating a code enforcement officer and a paramedic trainer. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thanks for reminding me. That was the second caveat that I had, which is not a major caveat, but yes, the police department's adding one, which tracks, honestly tracks with population increases, and also the cadet program has worked really well. We've seen good results from that, so we're going to add one cadet there. So essentially, it's sort of like a position and a half. In the fire department, you're correct. Code enforcement, we have not done a great job of picking up on code enforcement. And honestly, we haven't done a very good job. We've done no job in generating the revenue stream that we should be seeing there. So we have the responsibility for inspecting all basically all multi-unit rental homes. And so we have not done that, as I mentioned. So we'll begin that program again. It did exist a number of years ago, and then got dropped with budget cuts. So, so as I know Tony has mentioned to this group, you know, town made some really unwise choices years ago about cutting in areas that are really responsible for your revenues. So, so yeah, we're going to bring the code enforcement back. We're not losing, we're not losing a firefighter, but we're sort of restructuring the department so that it makes more sense.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anybody else have anything?
Make a motion to approve, Nate. Eric,
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Second, Chris.
A second from Chris. Am I doing the roll call? I see that we don't have,
Yeah, I'm sorry, you don't have Josh.
I see we don't have Josh here, so, all right.
So everything's all screwed up now.
Okay, so let me actually, okay, so Eric, I'll take the notes here. Eric and Chris the second. Okay, so I am going to roll call the vote. I'm just going to go in the order here. Susie,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
Chair, aye. Okay, so that passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, you know what, Nate, I can do the notes. I told Josh I would do the notes, so I apologize.
I
I will
appreciate it.
keep track.
Okay, so let's move on to our next one. It's FY 22-002. Budget order for fiscal year 22 Water Enterprise Fund budgets. We'll start out real quick to see if anybody has any questions directly for Michael right this moment. And if not, Mike, if you just want to give us a real quick overview.
Sure.
Again.
Again, no dramatic changes at all. Yeah, no dramatic changes at all. Really, the same old, same old. No salary increases this year, and that is it. I'm just pulling up pulling it up as we speak. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, does anybody have anything for him on this? I know we have asked questions on this earlier, so.
Nope,
We-
good.
Okay, if we don't have any questions, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to
So
approve,
moved,
Eric.
Chris.
Okay,
Second.
so, okay, Chris is that first, Eric's second. Do you actually want to call the roll too, Michael?
Sure. Yeah, you don't realize what Josh does until he's not here. All right, this is for the FY 22 water budget.
Yep.
Susie,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Eric,
Aye.
and Nate.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right, that is voted.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's move on quickly to FY 22-003, the Sewer Enterprise Fund budget.
Also, virtually no changes over last year. I think Tony has had some discussion with you, just sort of on the both water and sewer rates. You know, we've gradually been increasing those rates, all with a focus to make sure that we don't have a severe hit to ratepayers when you know the cost of the water treatment plant and the cost of the sewer treatment plant renovations kick in. So we're trying to keep the operating expenses under control so that we can continue to sort of hack away money into the capital funds of both water and sewer in order to offset some of the upcoming bond payments or the upcoming either directly offset the costs of the water sewer capital projects. So, but no significant change at all to sewer budget as well.
Can I ask a stupid question?
There is no question
No
that's
such thing as a
stupid.
stupid question.
I was just curious, and this is purely for educational purposes, not any kind of opinion or critique of anything. I was just curious with the new DPW director, does that change anything from an oversight or supervision standpoint of budgets related to this?
Nope, that's a good question. And I would say it does change a little bit. The oversight of the budgets, there's a more central, we've been working as best we can towards it, but now you'll see a more coordinated and focused effort to make sure that all the departments, sort of are working in tandem to make sure that we can, do whatever it is we need to do, without duplication, without, excess costs that we wouldn't otherwise have to incur. So yeah, so budget oversight is actually something that Kim and Tony and Bazoo are working on this week. Actually, that's their sort of topic of the week this week. So that's a good question, Susie. But yes, I'd say yes.
Okay, thanks. Was just curious.
It's probably better than my question is. What's the new building on High Street, Michael, on the left? Is that part of the water department and sewer department?
That is the
top of the
treatment
hill.
plant. That's
That
the
is the
water
treat-
treatment plant that's going up. Yep.
That's the water treatment plant there, yeah? All right.
That is it. It's a, $16 million project, 16
Right.
plus $1 million project. Yeah.
It only looks like a $5 million project, so.
I'll tell them you said that.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything for Michael? Okay, no, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Eric.
Second, Julie.
Thank
All
you.
right. Motion and a second, and I will go down the list. Susie
Yes.
and Chris
Yes.
and Julie
Aye.
and Eric
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Thank you.
Okay, 5-0, moving along. Fiscal year 22-004. Fiscal year 22 Transfer Station Enterprise Fund Budget. Again, we've had quite a bit of conversation on this. Do we have any quick questions for Michael? If not, Michael, if you want to just give us a quick.
Yep, let me just bring it up here so I can see it. What's the last thing I looked at?
I know the fees are going up there July 1st for the cards. And I gotta say that my first instinct was I need to run down there and buy as many $30 cards as I can. So is there gonna be a limit or?
No, we'll send you, we'll be glad to sell you a 10-year supply if you really want. One of the hard things about municipal government is, you can't really keep any secrets. So, when you announce a fare increase, that's the first thing people do is run down and get. And there's a tipping point where, if you buy 10 years worth of cards and then your company ends up sending you to Atlanta, Georgia,
Yeah,
we've made a ton of money off you.
that's right. Yeah.
So,
The Swampy Ant game, you can't resist it though.
so we have actually been a beneficiary of COVID in some senses. We've had a lot more activity, a lot more tonnage come through the transfer station. We did implement, prior to COVID, we implemented a small rate increase, and that was designed mostly just to get us to the break-even point where we're not in a position to have to subsidize the transfer station, and that gave us a little breathing room so that we could come back and really do a deep dive into the operation. Not that it's a very complex operation, but do a deep dive into that operation and try to figure out if there were ways to restructure it so that it, really was good financially for the long haul. So we have not dug into that yet, but we are, as I say, the beneficiary of some COVID, additional tonnage related to COVID. But that said, we do have some of our expenses there have gone up. So just general trash removal, which probably is more related to the increase in tonnage that we project for FY22 than increases in tipping fees. And that really, other than that, that's really basically it. It's obviously a very small department, but sort of the public, for a lot of people, it's the only public interaction that they have with the town. So it's, want to make sure it's run well, that's for sure, and breaks even at the very least. So I think we're in very good shape on the transfer station budget.
Hey, thank you. I will say personally that I do think it is a tremendous asset for the people in the town. Once you figure out what you can really make use of down there, it really can be cost effective.
Was there, I remember talking about this last year. Was there ever any effort or any kind of work done to understand how many people were using it and, had trends changed or anything like that?
Yeah, there was, Susie. And so we are doing a better job of tracking. Not the best job at all, because we haven't really, we haven't invested in any technology to really make it, really develop data out of there that we really need. But we have kept better track. We have seen an increase in usage, and I think part of that is COVID, and part of that are rate increases from the private haulers. So we've seen, some substantial rate increases on the hauling side, on the private hauler side. So anytime that happens, people say, you know what, for a very reasonable rate, I'm going to get in my car and just go down to the transfer station and, meet my friends and neighbors. But the short answer is yes, we've developed some data, but not nearly the data that we need to yet.
Just a quick question too, Michael. I know that the gentleman that's down there running it, Rick, he does everything. He's a one-man band, including helping our elderly citizens take the trash out of their vehicles and throwing it in for them. Has there been any talk of sometime getting him some paid help versus the sometimes volunteer help he has? More efficiency and...
Yes, short answer is yes. The transfer station will be part of the DPW, as part of the DPW. And so we want to make sure, even though Rick, will go kicking and screaming because he doesn't need the help, doesn't want the help, he's absolutely fine. And he'll tell you that, but obviously when you run a operation, you have to make sure that has to be open to the public. You want to make sure that you've got redundancies built in. So we'll make sure that that he's got available help, that he can call on, when it's needed. The guy hasn't taken a vacation or hasn't had a sick day in 8 years that I'm aware of. So at some point that'll have to happen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's true. If he can't make it, who opens it?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Second, Susie.
Thank you, Susie.
All right. Roll call for transfer station FY22 budget. Susie.
Sorry, yes.
and Chris,
Yes.
and Julie,
Aye.
and Eric,
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
5-0. Okay, our next one is FY 22-005, Old Scotland Links Golf Course Enterprise Fund Budgets.
All right, and I'll just give you quick rundown there. Minimal increases, some seasonal course maintenance increase due to increases in minimum wage, and otherwise no change in program. I can tell you, and I'm sure Tony's told you that we've seen a really healthy uptick in play at Old Scotland Links. Everybody's seen a good uptick in play at good golf courses, and that seems to be carrying into tailing out FY21, but certainly spring play has been great, so we're optimistic for a good year, but really no significant changes here at all, except for the seasonal maintenance increases, or seasonal worker increases due to minimum wage increases.
Michael, I'm just curious from more, I guess, educational purposes. What is our relationship with Barrett's? Do they lease the space there at Scotland Links? How does that work?
So, yep, they lease. So food and beverage service is not something, quite honestly, not something the town wants to handle. There are towns that do it in-house. We don't have the capacity to do that. So we lease, as most courses do, most municipal courses do, we lease that service out, and we issued an RFP about 4 years ago. We're about to issue another RFP again for food and beverage service. So Barrett's obviously won the bid 4 years ago, and has done a good job. So the terms of that lease are that I can't remember the amount they actually pay for that lease, but they also cover all of the utility expenses for the clubhouse. So we figured that was a cleaner way to do it, because the minimal amount of usage that the golf course has, paying for electricity for the computers and the lights, just made more sense to roll it all into that lease. So that's how that one works.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's a little bit early in the season here, but it has been off to a good start. If things stay the same, Michael, is the course looking good for?
If play,
Outperforming.
play levels stay the same, yeah, we'll definitely break even, and probably, I hate to even say this because I'm probably jinxing us, but assuming that the weather remains good, we'll turn, they'll be able to be in a position to turn money back, as they borrowed from stabilization a number of years ago. We committed to making sure that money got paid back. So they'll be in a position to do that.
Yeah, in the end of the day, that was my question, so thank you.
Yep.
All right, anyone else? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve, Chris.
Okay, thank you, Chris. We have a second?
Second, Eric.
Eric?
All right, got a motion and a second. Susie
Yes.
and Chris,
Yes.
and Julie,
Aye.
and Eric,
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is FY 22-007, which is the CPA reserve. Did I miss 6? Out of order here? Oh, I think I did. I went out of order here. I'm sorry. FY 22-006, which is authorization of revolving funds. I know we've all heard this a couple times already here, the past couple meetings, Michael, but do you want to just give us the quick one again? And
Sure, let me pull that up. Here, I can give you, yeah, the authorization of revolving funds is pretty straightforward. Every year, the town, and for any revolving funds that we wish to maintain, we have to get annual authorization to do that. So there are 3, I believe. And I apologize, it's going to take me a minute to pull it up, but if you want to ask a question about any of those, I believe they're pretty benign. Street list sales, I believe, is one.
yeah, recreation and COA revolving.
Right. So, yeah. So happy to answer questions. Those have been around for decades.
All right, does
I
anybody
just had
have?
a,
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
yeah, and I don't know, I can't remember if we covered this before or not, but the recreation director, will that be overseeing the new proposed pickleball courts as well?
Short answer is yes for right now. And so that, you know, there are a couple of people that are quite involved in the pickleball court. So it remains to be seen how we actually, you know, organize the play. But Charlie will be responsible for that. There won't, at this point, we don't anticipate that pickleball is going to be a revenue generator. So it won't, you know, there won't be any contributions to the revolving fund based on pickleball. If it's crazy down there and, you know, and we have to implement some sort of fee just to control the play, which would be great, not for the income, but just, you know, as sort of an indicator of how popular they are, you know, then that would go into the recreation revolving account. But I don't anticipate that at this point.
Can always organize tournaments.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, does anybody have anything for Michael on this one? Okay, like you said, pretty straightforward on this. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Susie.
Second, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, got a motion and a second, and we'll go to Susie
Yes.
and Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now we'll get back on order, and I think this is actually our last fiscal year 22 that we have to deal with this evening. FY 22-007 CPA reserve accounts, fiscal year 22. Does anybody have any? I see that I have a note here that I don't know if you have it up yet, Michael, but the 43,900 is 5% of the revenue stream by state law.
Yes, well, the state law authorizes up to 5%
Up to.
as part of administrative fees, correct?
You know, and Tony did bring up to us, and maybe you did too, that the Registry of Deeds has increased the fee that replenishes this fund. So instead of looking at diminishing returns like towns were earlier, it's holding steady now. Is
That's our hope. I don't know that we've seen. I'm not sure that we've seen the results of those increases at the Registry of Deeds, but you know, certainly our hope is as more and more towns become, you know, vote to join or vote to become community preservation committees, that you know, that the existing pool of revenues gets more and more dispersed and diluted. So we're hoping that you know, the increase in fees will be able to, you know, sustain the money that we currently have been seeing. So, but I can't tell you if we've seen any result of that yet. I think we've gotten relatively good news from sort of the tea leaves that we get from the legislature on how much money is coming out. But Haven't seen solid numbers yet.
Yeah, I know this is an important program for towns that have created it. All right, does anybody have any questions for Michael on this one? At all?
Make a motion to approve, Chris.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Second, Eric.
Second from Eric, okay.
All right, motion and a second on FY22 CPC budget. Susie
Yes.
and Chris,
Yes.
Julie
Aye.
and Eric
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, and I would like to say thank you to the members of the Finance Committee. You know, this process started quite a while ago. Everybody spent hours on this. We've asked, you know, there's been some smart questions, good discussions. Thank you very much. Now this can move on to the Town Council. So we do have a couple of more things that were referred to us from the last meeting. FY 21040, which is transfer order, capital item, special purpose, High Pond meter project. Michael, what can you tell us about this?
All right, the High Pond meter project, as you recall, several years ago, we did a borrowing so that we could replace all the meters in town. They were antiquated. We replaced them with meters that were we could read electronically, and that people, you know, folks could log on, create an account, and actually track their water usage. That wasn't the reason for the new meters, but that was the ancillary benefit. So the last piece of that process now is High Pond Estates. High Pond Estates was built back, I don't know, say 20 plus years ago. And when it was built, there was, I'll call it a deal made with the town so that High Pond would pay a very low rate for water. We can't do that anymore, especially as we're getting ready to do the final borrowings on the final bondings on the water treatment plant, which is going up on High Street there. And we're getting state money to offset some of our expenses. We just have to make sure that all of our rates are consistent across the board. So installing the meters at High Pond is, I think, there are 274 units at High Pond, and this pays for just the meters. High Pond will be paying to reroute some of the plumbing in those units. Those units are, as you can imagine, they're essentially built on raised blocks, and then they're boarded up crawl spaces underneath each of those units. So the plumbing is a challenge, and it's in very tight quarters. So those plumbing to accommodate the meters has to be done. We are not covering that. High Pond is going to cover that. So this is just the capital expense for the meters themselves. So that's essentially where we are for that.
Michael, quick question. Maybe I misheard you. We're actually increasing their rates. Is that correct?
We're moving off of the rate that that High Pond had been charged for decades, which was extremely low. It was just a political decision that the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners at the time made, but now it's more and more evident that we have to be consistent with our billings, and we should be consistent with our billings. So once each of these units gets on a meter, everybody will be billed according to our standard rate structure. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Obviously, Stone Meadow is metered. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Nate, you're right.
Do we have any other questions on this order for Michael?
Motion to approve, Chris?
Okay, thank you, Chris. Do you have a second?
Second, Julie.
Second from Julie.
Got a motion and a second. Susie,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, we got one more order for this evening. That is FY 21-041, which is the transfer order of water mains Hayward to Curve Street project.
All right, this is the simplest one of the night. This simply takes monies that were left over in the Hayward project and the, yeah, I think the Hayward project was another one, but and transfers that to the Curve Street water main project, just so that we can close out the other ones and offset the cost of, offset the cost of the Curve Street project.
Yeah, was it Hay and Wall Street? Is that what I see?
Wall, that's right.
Yeah.
Hayward project and Wall Street project.
All right, we're moving it from one project to another project, essentially.
Exactly.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, thank
All right,
Second,
that was
Chris.
Susie and Chris. All right, motion in the second, Susie
Yes.
and Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Nate.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, before we close here real quick, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for all their hard work. It looks like that we will try to have our next meeting on May 17th, after the town council has their meeting on the 11th, and we'll see if there's any new business referred to us from them. If nobody has anything else,
Motion to adjourn, Eric.
Second, Chris.
thank you.
All right, forgot about this. All right. Motion to adjourn. Susie,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and Nate.
Aye.
So I didn't write it down because I was so confident that it would be a unanimous vote.
Unanimous. So we are closed at 7:31 p.m.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, have a
Night.
good evening.
Thank you, Susie.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, man.